Hello, my name is Renegade Operative, and today we're doing a response video to IGN, which is quite funny because people think I only call out small-time irrelevant YouTubers when I'm quite capable of calling out anyone under the sun. The review in question is all about the Death of Superman from DC animated films. It comes as no shock that IGN is a bit baseless on comic book media, so this is no different in this review. While everyone is entitled to their opinion, it doesn't mean that criticism is unavoidable. Let's take that into consideration because IGN rated Batman Ninja as an impeccable, flawless masterpiece when the third act of that film is literally the wet dream of an anime fan across the fucking entire universe. The logical minded will ask the question of what the fuck is going on when that point is reached. I love Batman Ninja, but there's no way that movie mirrors the same quality akin to A Dark Knight or maybe Under the Red Hood, for example. Time to dive deep into the problems I had with this review in question.
The Death of Superman marks the third time in 11 years that a movie has killed off the Man of Steel, which makes this latest DC animated offering a tedious case of been there, done that.
DC has adopted many storylines into mainstream more than 3 times. I think you're just cherry picking here. Look at all the critically acclaimed, overdone story arcs that exist with Batman against the Joker, for example. We've seen that time and time again with The Killing Joke, the animated series, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, The Dark Knight Returns, and The Dark Knight. If you look at the facts, none of that has gotten old for particular DC fans for the last 20 years, so why would it be a problem if they decided to adopt the Death of Superman and do it right? If you read up on some interviews or maybe paid attention to some mainstream media, you would know that Superman Doomsday is an abridged mess and Batman v Superman has divided the fan base on whether people like it or not. They wanted to make the Death of Superman feel faithful and adequate as possible to the source material, hence why this is being remade yet again.
While this new version hews more closely to the comics than either Superman Doomsday or Batman v Superman did, it nevertheless lacks anything truly fresh to add to this well-worn tale.
So basically, what you're saying is you wanted something completely new and unexpected for the Death of Superman. Process that, take that all in. You wanted something unexpected for an inevitable outcome. What you're saying is you wanted something more equivalent to a reimagining instead of a somewhat faithful New 52 rendition. Also, did you not pay any attention to any of the small liberties that were taken before you said that this wasn't anything new added to the table? Of course you didn't.
As endearing as some of the character moments are, the Death of Superman feels perfunctory, a by-the-numbers retelling that chucks in some relationship goals for Clark Kent so his inevitable death in Lois Lane's arms plays out more melodramatically.
I have to get back to work.
The Death of Superman forces several big events to happen in relatively short order with no real dramatic exploration or weight given to any of them.
The entire purpose of the Death of Superman is to live in a world without a hero of hope. Again, this has been said many times in interviews, conversations with the directors and screenwriters, and the symbolic nature of the title itself has enough weight to it, setting up the idea of Metropolis without a savior.
Why kill off Superman yet again if you're not going to explore it to any new or greater effect than before?
Well, hopefully the resolution is they're setting up for a new Reign of Superman subplot that's not skimmed over in 5 minutes. You're welcome, I guess. I think you just want a reimagined story over something more faithful, which is fair, but that's not what they were going for here. They were going for a more accurate retelling of events that isn't abridged like Superman Doomsday. The developers actually said they were trying to learn from the mistakes of that movie.
This movie is actually the first act of what the first original movie was. His plight at the start of the movie is whether or not to share his life further with Lois.
Doomsday Superman is something that the DC fans are very familiar with. We really wanted to warrant retelling this story and putting it in this continuity and in this universe.
The movie's last moments lay the groundwork for a sequel that already feels uneventful because we've seen the same story play out twice before.
Just because you know the events of Superman returning with the black suit does not discredit a new rendition simply because you're well acquainted with the source material. That's like saying, I know Thanos does the snap in the Infinity Gauntlet story arc, so that made Infinity War a bad movie. You completely wrote it off because of the sheer plot convenience of Superman's unlikely demise, which won't cause anything interesting in your opinion to happen in the next rendition. That logic is flat out wrong. Anything can happen when liberties are taken. Even Batman Under the Red Hood, a movie that's universally loved in the DCAU, is not 100% faithful to the original comics. They took stuff out like the city being nuked. You can't be serious right now with that logic.
And even if you haven't seen those previous films, the sequel setup here is so obvious and quick that it undercuts the need to either mourn Superman or hunger for his return. Meanwhile, the Justice League play their respective roles in battling Doomsday and thus showing how necessary a godlike hero like Superman is compared to their range of abilities. Alas, only Wonder Woman comes across as having any true emotional connection to Superman.
You know, this point I actually agree with. I wish the fight with the League set up more sympathetic affairs after Superman's friends were pulverized and nearly killed. It's not like they weren't there for a reason, since the League was Clark's emotional support in the movie. I just wish that they would have brought more emotional support out of him, but he did only share like that real heart-to-heart moment with Wonder Woman before taking on Doomsday. I assume this was done due to the history of Superman and Wonder Woman being former lovers in the New 52 story arc. Still not the greatest excuse given here, but it's still there.
Doomsday himself is merely a plot device. There's no real explanation for or meaning to him at all. He arrives, he kills people, and then he's dealt with. He's just a force of nature from another planet devoid of either personality or perspective.
You take all of the dangerous elements of Superman, remove the conscience, put it in this vessel that can channel all that anger, rage, and power. You have Doomsday.
Oh man, holy shit, hold on, I need a minute. You can't spell ignorant without IGN. I think you guys missed the point of Doomsday being an unstoppable force from the beginning for the Justice League and Superman. What more do you expect from a monstrous killing machine outside of death, chaos, and destruction?
The Death of Superman also continues the generic sameness in the animation quality of the mainstream DC animated films. They all look the same, move the same, have the same vibe, with nothing to distinguish one entry from the next.
It has good animation, period. Even if the art style is very reminiscent of Justice League War, how is that a bad thing? The movie looks great. It has great special effects. You're kind of undermining some quality here. I mean, for example, you can tell The Last of Us is on a modified engine of Uncharted. Still doesn't stop both games from looking great.
Surely some more visual flair and individuality in future DC Universe movies couldn't hurt?
Are you guys really implying that every DC animated movie looks the same? That's really false. You don't look at Killing Joke and Death of Superman and say that's the same.
No one tears my city apart and gets away with it.
The Death of Superman never quite justifies a third retelling of this story or offers any approach to the material that's substantially new. Doomsday is a one-note cipher of a villain, and the film barely gives any of its rush-through relationship plot elements the room they need to truly resonate.
You have to keep in mind that this is a 1 hour movie. They have to cram stuff in. They focused on the aspect of Lois and Clark's relationship since her boyfriend fucking dies right in her arms, literally in the comic and the film. I do wish some more relationships were fleshed out with the Justice League, but this is a 2-part film. More than likely, they are going to cover the more dramatic moments that are going on well after Superman's death with Reign of the Supermen. So we get to see what happens when Steel, Superboy, the Eradicator, and Cyborg Superman join in the fray. I'm sure with the liberties taken with the New 52 League still around, there's going to be moments for those people to shine, and they have plenty of time to be confused and rekindle things when Superman comes back. All in all, this movie is not a 5.9. It's definitely not that at all. The fights were well done, it was leagues better than Superman Doomsday, and it had impressive animation. I believe this team captured the essence of the Death of Superman comic, and it's something that you should get into as a fan of the DCAU. You might like it, you might find it decent, and you guys at IGN, you are really harsh critics. I would tell anyone, neglect this review immediately, watch the movie, and form your own opinion from there. This is Renegade Operative signing off. Hopefully you have a good day, and I will see you guys next time. Later.